Okay, Kurt Von Arnold says, "Good day, Bill. Hey, that's a happy coincidence. I hope you're watching. Kurt, I didn't realize that. Good day, mate. In what now looks like a worldwide political and cultural struggle between left and right, is there any hope of finding common ground and an honorable peace, or are we faced with a never-ending ideological war of attrition?" I have two answers to that, Kurt. On the one hand, I don't think we can reach common ground, and I don't think we should try. I think that truth is the truth. My political philosophy is based on the truth. It's based on the truth of human nature. It's based on the truth of economics, based on the truth of gravity and thermodynamics and all these other things. It's true, and my philosophy takes the truth and reality into account. If you're opposed to a philosophy that believes that truth is relative, that you make your own reality, that everything is subjective and of the moment, then you are at fundamental odds, and everything you value is at odds with that. And I don't think you come to an agreement on this. Let me just say this. The progressives who talk about these Islamicists, and you say, if we could just talk to them. That's what they always say, right? This is what the people in Munich, Chamberlain, and I think it was Daladier for France, what they believe is that everything is a misunderstanding. It's a cross in communications or something. They seem to think that if we could just sit down and have bright guys, if we could have our bright guys in our suits talk to your bright guys in our suits, we'd get this thing solved in a weekend. And Kerry believes that, and so on. Because it's all ego. Because it's ego. And you talk to progressives about this, and we say, well, why can't we just compromise with these Islamicists? And then you get to the brass tacks of it, right? Because the brass tacks of it is when a progressive sitting in his hot tub drinking Chardonnay saying these knuckle-dragging conservatives are going to get us into a war, if we could only just talk to these people, we could sort it out. What they're really saying is, if we could just talk to Osama bin Laden, we could get him to come around to our point of view. Because if it turned out that getting to an agreement with Osama bin Laden meant that Joyce here has to wear a sack for the rest of her life and can't leave the home without a male guardian, suddenly you wouldn't be so much in favor of that compromise, would you? And what if the compromise was, okay, you can say what's on your mind and smoke your weed and drink your alcohol on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, but on Mondays, Fridays, and Saturdays, you have to pray 5 times a day to Mecca. Your wife has to wear a burqa. You have to abstain from all these other things, and if you don't, we'll hit you with a cane. That's a compromise. How about that? And Sunday we'll rest. And if you don't rest on Sunday, we'll chop your head off. There's a compromise. What do you say? That's not the kind of compromise I meant. So what you really meant is, these are not really people, these adversaries of ours, whether it's the Nazis or the Chinese or the Islamicists, whatever. What you're really saying is they're not real people. Because all I have to do is just talk to them and they're going to come around to my way of thinking. That's what they always talk about when they say a compromise. They'll, if we could just get Osama into this hot tub and have a nice Chardonnay, I'm sure we'd get it all straightened out. Well, what if the way to get straightened out is to go to Afghanistan, live in a cave for the rest of your life, and worship Allah? And not ever listen to music again, and stone the homosexuals to death, needless to say, and put other people, including black people, in slavery. Real slavery, chains, not Touré slavery, I mean actual slavery. That's the compromise. Because that's the compromise, right? So on some level, Kurt, I don't think you compromise with people like this. And I think if you are right, and facts prove you right, and they're wrong, then you become half wrong. I don't want to be half wrong, I want to be right. With that said, philosophically, I think the one thing that I think does give me hope, because I have to kind of come back to this all the time because it is getting really, 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 really vile here. And I don't like it. It doesn't suit me. I don't have that kind of... I'm not Andrew Breitbart. Andrew Breitbart actually likes fighting with people and arguing with people. I don't like it at all. It makes me uncomfortable. But on the other hand, one thing I do kind of come back to is that when you really get down to this divided country and this ideological struggle, it really is kind of a Rubik's Cube, isn't it? Because if you look at things like blue and red on a cube, you think, well, we can never possibly ever reach common agreement with these people. But if you are going to a Florida State game, I really shouldn't say that, given the way the Gators are this year. They're as bad as they were. They weren't as bad as they were when I was a freshman, because when I was a freshman, they were 0-10-1, but it's the worst season they've had since 1979. With that said, if you watch a Gator Seminole football game, the good guys are wearing orange and blue, and the bad guys, it's Freudian slip there, and the bad guys are wearing what they call garnet and gold, which really is mustard yellow and kind of a brown. But on our side of the stadium, we have progressives, we have conservatives, we have liberals, we have Maoists, we have we have libertarians, we got a couple of whatever, we got everything, got a flavor of everything. And on the other side of the field over there, they got everything too. So I'm sitting here in the Gator stands as a conservative, sitting next to a progressive, screaming "Go Gators," and over there is a conservative sitting next to a progressive, screaming whatever they scream in their primitive, backward, barbarian society up in Tallahassee. So that actually gives me hope. So when you talk about the country being divided into two classes, what are you talking about? Are you talking about Redskin fans and Cowboy fans? Are you talking about Lakers fans and Celtic fans? Or where's the division? The fact that we can sit next to these people and not know or care about their politics in so many different ways of life gives me a lot of hope. And I think somebody kind of needs to get out there and make that point. There's millions and millions and millions of Democrats in the armed forces, and I respect every single one of them. Which is it going to be? So there is hope. The reason the country is so divided and the world is so divided, Kurt, is because, I'm not pointing fingers, I'm just telling you the honest truth, is because we like to be left alone. And conservatives generally don't think that politics should be everything because we have a life and we have jobs and we have families and we have things that we like to do. But the left functions for politics. Politics is their religion. Politics is their family in many cases. So we're not the people that are injecting politics into everything. There should be no politics in marriage because the government shouldn't be in marriage. There should be no coercive power of the government for marriage. And so if you have no coercive power for the government, then you're left in a world where if two gay people want to get married by their congregation and the pastor of the congregation agree, then they're married. That offends you? Too bad. You don't have a right not to be offended. However, if it turns out that congregation and that pastor decides that they don't want to marry gay people because it's against their religion, then too bad for you, you gay people. It offends you that you can't get married in this community? Tough luck. The bottom line is you don't have a right not to be offended. So what you end up with is you're just offended, but you're not coerced, and that's the difference. So right now, in many cases, gay people are coerced into not being allowed to be married, and then they want to coerce straight people into making us recognize their marriages, and it's just a question of the coercion. So in the gay marriage issue, if it turns out that that gay marriage becomes law in the state, that gay marriage is legal in California, just a matter of time before somebody's in a congregation someplace and asked to get married, and the pastor says, "No, we're a traditional Christian or Muslim for that." Needless to say, you never mention that, right? Or we're a traditional congregation. We're not going to do it. Then it's just a matter of time until they get sued, and then it's just a matter of time until they win, and then the protection of freedom of religion is gone, and then your protection against freedom of thought is gone, and then it's all over. So I'd answer your question by saying the way to get the world back on its feet in terms of being less antagonistic towards each other is to get the government, to get politics out of things. Get the politics out of things. Just like that. And if you get the politics out of things, then it becomes like, okay, we don't agree about this. And it sucks that we lost to Florida State. But there are other things we can agree on, and you don't have to coerce me. It's the coercion that drives us crazy, right? It's the coercion. They're taking our money. They're taking half of my money, half, to get these policies that I don't approve of. And you can have the policies I don't approve of. I just want to pay for them. So if you get the politics out of it, things improve. And my feeling of government is it should do the only things that can't be done anywhere else, period. You can't really do a Navy on a state-by-state level or a county-by-county level, although we may have to find out someday. But anyway, that's my answer for that, I think.